to do his keynote address, because I hear he has a meeting now. Hong-Eng Koh is the Global Chief Public Services Industry Scientist, Enterprise Business Group of the Huawei Technologies Company Limited. I heard he traveled all the way from Singapore. Nigerians, let's give him a warm welcome. Let's welcome Mr. Hong-Eng Koh.
Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. Hello, testing. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamualaikum. Yeah. So my name is Hong-Eng. I'm from Singapore, long way from here, and it's great to be here. This is the first time I'm visiting Nigeria. My seventh. It's my 78th country. So because of technical difficulties with some delay, and as what the host said, because I have another important meeting soon, I need to go. But I'm quickly going to share with you some e-government experience. Personally, I actually, because I'm a Singaporean, you probably can't tell my age by looking at me, but looking at the hair, probably you can tell. So I have been working in the Singapore government for many years, different operational roles. But in 1995, and I believe many of you are still in primary school, right? You are very young. So in 1995, I was head of technology in one of the departments. And after that, about 20 years ago, I left the government to join a government enterprise, a company that's owned by the Singapore government, to do the very first generation e-government project. That was 20 years ago. And Singapore is a very bad example. Why? Because we are such a small country. Your great Nigeria is almost 1,500 times bigger than Singapore. You're much bigger, right? Your population is 200 over million. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So basically what happened 20 years ago, because we are such a small country, it's so much easier to implement e-government. So whatever successes that we had, it's difficult for anyone else to learn, but it becomes a vision, a guide. And if you look through the history the last 20 years, Singapore is very privileged to receive many international awards in the e-government. And I was actually involved in the very first generation. So let's go back to history. What happened 20 years ago? So 20 years ago, sorry, this you can, because I'm controlling this side, our friend here will update here as well. So 20 years ago, probably you are experiencing that now in Nigeria as well, right? Because we have many government departments, many government agencies. So for example, from Interior Ministry to Provident Fund to Company Registrar, Housing Authority, and so on. Any government, you have many ministries, and for such a big country like you, not only you have the federal government, you have 36 government plus FCT, right, the state government. So 20 years ago, when internet became pervasive, in Singapore we started using internet more than that. So 20 years ago, when I was still in one of the government department, all of us were eager to apply for permission to connect to internet. Everybody wants to start doing e-government, so everybody applied for that, to go internet. But luckily for us, as a small country, we only have one government, right? It's such a small country. The Ministry of Finance, it was the Ministry of Finance who think that this is wrong. Why is every department connecting to internet? Mainly for three different reasons, as you can see on the slide. The first reason, security threats. Because by then, 20 years ago, we already have some internal network. So if anybody that's connected to internet without proper security, you're going to break down the whole government network. That's the first reason. Second reason is a waste of money. 20 years ago, you can't imagine what is the cost to connect to internet. It's a lot, all right? So if everybody connect to internet, it's a waste of the overall government treasury money. But the third reason is the most important. We are not user-centric, because each of you have a government department to deal with. If everybody online, means that I have to visit every website. So what do I mean by user-centric? If you look at a government, a user, if you to open a restaurant when it's not user-centric, this is G2B, right? Government to business. If any of you want to open a restaurant, just look at the screen. The number of departments that, this side will be faster, sorry. If you look at the number of permits, licenses you need to apply. And this happened in Singapore. In fact, in Singapore more than 20 years ago, if you want to open a restaurant to make a decent living, you have to go to maybe 10 over departments just to apply permits, such as apply permit on fire safety, live entertainment, selling alcohol, even registration of business name, the business logo, testing 1, 2, 3, and of course the environment ministry, the food handlers, the food service. You get the idea. You get the idea. So the person is not user-centric. Imagine 20 years ago, if Singapore government allows every ministry department to have an internet access, this project, of course it doesn't need to run different ministries department, but he has to do online, one after another, right? This is why this person is unwilling. Think about it. All of us, regardless whether you're in Singapore or Nigeria, we are forever unwilling customer of government. Think about it. Why are you unwilling customer of government? Do you willingly go to the hospital because you are injured? Do you willingly go to the police station because you are robbed? Every year, 31st March, do you willingly pay tax? No. Every government transaction is a means to an end. I want to open a restaurant, but the regulations say I need to do this before I open a restaurant. I want to drive a car, but the regulations say I need to pass the driving test, get the driving license, and so on. Every transaction with the government is unwilling, unfortunately. So to achieve e-government actually under the context of digital transformation, we can do a lot more. That's what I intend to share with you this morning. Okay, so basically, all the transaction, remember, is a means to an end with the government. We have to have that in mind. So that when you design e-government services, you try to make the unwilling customers happier. If possible, make them willing. I'm going to give you some example. So, for example, buy a government apartment. This happened in Singapore more than 20 years ago. 80% of Singaporeans stay in government apartment, very good quality, as good as private condominium. 80%. But before you apply, you need to show the government, you need to produce evidence to the housing department that you are married. Because the husband and wife will get priority in buying property. And you can use your provident fund, your social security, your saving to pay for part of the house. So in the old day, the poor couple has to go to 3 different departments to get the documents done. So what happened now? You go online, which is good. Everybody go internet. But the poor couples have to go to 3 different websites, right? But what if we have a one-stop concept? You can just go into a service. I want to buy an apartment. And at the back end, it's transparent to the citizen that he can deal with the government agencies. And this was the project that I was involved. 2000, 20 years ago. So basically, we built a platform. Those of you who are into software, it's as good as a service-oriented architecture. Of course, 20 years ago, there was no such thing called SOA architecture. But we literally built service-oriented architecture. At the bottom, we connected to all the different departments and their databases. Because you need professionalism. You still need the police, the doctor, the teacher. You cannot have one super government servant that do everything. So you still need professionalism. But we can solve the problem by building a middleware to connect up the back-end databases and the systems, right? And basically on the platform itself, there are different services. Data exchange, scheduling, work management, workflow, and so on. On top of that, you can deploy many services. One of the service, buying an apartment. So now the couple can just go buy an apartment service, and the infrastructure will take care of the exchange of data information and the workflow, transparent to the couple. But to achieve this is not good enough. You need a single portal. You need an overall federal government portal or Lagos state government portal, right? And below the portal, you need an electronic ID. Today, I believe you have a national ID. But your national ID is a physical ID for you to go to the bank to open a bank account, to go to hospital to register yourself. The convergence is this physical ID should also be your electronic ID with an extra password. That is what Singapore is doing now. My national ID, the physical ID, is also an electronic ID. But we have done something even more. I'll come to that later. So basically, this was what happened 20 years ago, right? So you are satisfying the unwilling customer. They are unwilling. They are still unwilling, but you satisfy them, right? So the trick is how to make unwilling customer willing. Before we talk about that, here we are talking about technology. We cannot be just dreaming of all this wild imagination without knowing the capability of technologies. So we need to look at the industry revolution. We are now currently in industry 4.0,
which is digitalization, which is the convergence between the cyber, the IT, everything, right? So the information technology, communication technology, even operational technology. But with COVID-19, I believe we are being accelerated to 5.0. Many scholars out there have been saying 5.0 is personalization, or more personalization. So this is something I wrote last year as well in the midst of the pandemic, that is mission-oriented, is service-oriented, is personalized. So whether you are a school, in an education, in a university, you can provide personalized education, for example. So 5.0 is about personalization. So if you look at the industry revolution, and look back at the stages of e-government, look back at the stages of government. Now, the first 5 stages of e-government, this was introduced by United Nations. United Nations has a standard on the stages of e-government. So the very first stage is called emerging. Emerging is basically a static website. Just like a website offer what as a content on what your department or ministry is, what are the physical services available, but there's still no online services. The second stage is what we call enhanced e-government, where there's specific information, you can download some forms. Stage is what we call interactive. Interactive is where you can start doing some basic online submission, right? And the stage 4, transactional, is where you can have secure online transaction with the electronic ID. You can even pay a payment. You can pay an online payment, a fine, and so on. So Singapore actually achieved stage 5 20 years ago, where the whole government is integrated. It becomes citizen-centric, G2C, or business-centric, G2B, right? But at this stage, stage 5, you are only making an unwilling customer satisfied. He's still unwilling. So for me, it's the next stage. It's not by United Nations, it's by yours truly. So the next stage, especially with the 5th Industry Revolution, is what I call personalized and collaborative. It's where we make the unwilling customer willing, right? What do I mean by make the unwilling customer willing? Let me tell you a simple story. Even in India, let me tell you a story. You know, in India, some part of the city, some cities, the farmers needs to register to apply for permit before they can plant rice, vegetables, or keep poultry or pork or whatever. So you need to permit. Now, why do you need permit for agriculture? Simple reason. Imagine in your city, if everybody just plant rice, you got no vegetable to eat, you got no chicken to eat. So this is why agriculture must be regulated. How many people can do this, right? No, but as a government, because you require this registration, you have data. You have data. You can do something more for the citizen, for the farmers. For example, if I know that you are planting rice, you are planting rice, you are planting rice, and to plant rice, maybe you need some fertilizer. The government knows that you have 5 farmers that require fertilizer. I can go to the fertilizer supplier to negotiate for a better package because it's the economy of scale. After I negotiate through the government platform, I can sell the fertilizer to the farmer at a discounted price as compared to them buying individually. You have just converted an unwilling customer to willing. Because the poor farmer, yes, I have to submit data information to register my farming needs. But in return, not only the government approved the planting of the rice, the government actually helped you to lower your cost by giving you some materials at a discounted price. And this is what I meant. Remember, all transaction with the government is a means to an end. With digital transformation, with data, you can converge the means and end together. There are many such examples. Another example is buying a car, driving a car. You need to do so many things before you can buy a car. But with the data, we can converge together. So there are many such examples that is up to your imagination. But for that to happen, you need collaboration. You need collaboration between the government, the enterprises, and the citizens. So the traditional e-government, G2B, G2C, that's good. But the future is G2B2C, government to business to citizen or consumer. So it's coming together. And you are converging, as I emphasize again, the transaction and the means to achieve what the citizen want. Because the citizen only want to open a restaurant, right? You already make it one stop, very simple. In Singapore, you just go to a government portal, I want to open a restaurant. The government will automatically check whether you have already existing permits or what you don't have, you can submit the information. This is what Singapore has achieved, stage 5 of e-government. But Singapore has yet to do number 6. Some of this we are seeing that's happening. So open a restaurant is the same. After I have all the data, maybe you can start supplying kitchen utensils, restaurants, or even suppliers of food, whatever, to help lower the cost. So that is what stage 6 is about, right? So collaboration with enterprises to personalize and even bring proactive services to people and the businesses. Last but not least, a federated electronic ID. Remember I told you, Singapore, we offer an ID called SingPass, Singapore Password. Every Singapore citizen and foreigners working in Singapore will be given a SingPass. And the SingPass is actually the same number as our physical ID. In Singapore, we have a physical ID, we have a SingPass, right? So the SingPass is used throughout the government. It's a single ID and password. But about 2-3 years ago, we made this ID federated. What do we mean by federated? We use technology to allow even the enterprises to use this ID. So for example, if I go to a bank, I want to open a mobile banking account, I don't need to create a separate user ID password. I can choose to use SingPass. And the moment I go into mobile banking, I choose SingPass, they will connect to the government SingPass for me to key in my password or use my fingerprint. And this, once I've authenticated, the information will go to the bank, confirm this is Hong-Eng, you can proceed. So in Singapore now, literally, we have one ID for everything, both government services and enterprise businesses. So there's a lot of trust and collaboration between the government and businesses to make an unwilling customer willing. Moving forward, there are many things you can do to transform e-government. I only gave you a few stories, right? But you guys are all expert professionals in your own fields. You must think of your own vision. You must think of your own services. How to convert your unwilling government customer to a willing customer. So here there are some principles you can consider, right? So firstly, digital transformation is not just going online. It's not just to improve return on investment. It has to do more. You have to redefine your vision. You have to redefine your organization. You have to redefine the governance process and skill set. That is important. And to achieve that, so basically, you want to firstly satisfy the unwilling customers, but the trend in the future is to make them willing and satisfied, right? That's good. Now, on top of that, you need to add in some digital intelligence, right? And there are 3 stages. The 3 stages are improve efficiency of current services, which is basically just digitization. And then you get new services under current mission, which is digitalization. And the next is digital transformation, which is new services under enhanced mission. Any of you from education here? Anyone from education industry? No? I'm sure you have some tax people here, right? Okay, very good. I'm going to give you a simple example. Improve efficiency of current services. Today, your personal income tax filing is still paper, right? You got to write a lot of papers and submit before 31st of March. New improved efficiency of current services literally means that you can do online. You can online declare, right? But there's still a lot of data. The next stage, new services under current mission. New services under current mission. What you can do is basically the government will actually come and tell you that based on your job profile, your salary, whatever, you're probably paying this amount of tax. That's what we did in Singapore. This is not tax at source. Our tax expert, you'll know what is tax at source, right? It's a different thing. This is not tax at source. Because in Singapore, we have social security and other department. So every month, my salary is automatically deducted to go into the social security. But that information is connected at the back end to the tax department. So tax department actually know what is my basic salary every month, every year. So the new services under current mission, in Singapore literally now, I don't even have to do online filing. Before the tax deadline 31st March, the system will message me or email me to say based on our information, we think you're worth this much and this is your tax. Do you agree? If you agree, you click and that's it. At the back end, I will have a monthly auto payment. If you don't agree, you can go into edit, especially to claim extra allowance, claim all these things, because you can do tax deductible, right? Tax deductible. But that is only the second stage, digitalization. What is digital transformation? Why is FIRS, Federal Inland Revenue Service, just collecting tax? Let's make your unwilling customer willing. So the last stage, the new services under enhanced vision, I can give you this example. Imagine each year, because you want to upgrade yourself, you go and study, you go and learn something about artificial intelligence, or you go and learn about cooking, or you go learn about planting, gardening, correct? And some of these, based on your tax laws, can be tax deductible because they are not directly related to your employer. So this is why the employer is not paying you for those expenses. But it's important for your business, for your own job. So this is why FIRS will probably have some of this deductible. So now my challenge to FIRS is that, now that you know this citizen, this Nigerian, has submitted a tax deductible on learning artificial intelligence, what do? You have the information. You can actually be proactive to go back to this taxpayer. Oh, I see that you are interested in artificial intelligence. We do know that there are other courses or other areas you may be of interest and push it to him. So suddenly I realized I need to pay tax FIRS. I already have an online filing, but yet because I have this tax deductible, the FIRS know more about me. Using big data, using artificial intelligence, you are providing services back to me. So a true digital transformation, you need to think out of the box. You need to think beyond your department. You may even need to collaborate with the enterprises to make your citizen and consumer willing, right? So moving forward, this there are other four principles. I'm going to skip this, okay? But basically, when you talk about true digital transformation, many of you are from ICT here, right? IT and CT, right? So basically, you need data. Digital transformation is all data. End of the day, the last 30 years I've seen technology come and go. Today we are talking about artificial intelligence. 5 years later, God knows, maybe it's no more artificial intelligence. But the data remains. The data on people, object, location, event, organization. So you guys are a lot from IT, from communication technology, right? From Econ, a lot of communication infrastructure. That's important. I'll come back to that later. But digital transformation, providing services for e-government especially, is all about data on people, object, location, event, organization. How do you make this successful? End of the day, to make it successful, it's not just technology. In my last 30 years of career in public sector and technology, I can tell you, most projects fail not because of technology. Most projects fail people. Number one, leadership. A true digital transformation where it's cross-border, cross-government enterprise, you need top leadership to drive. That is important. Number two, governance and structure. Do you have the existing team, a new organization to support that? Thirdly, law and regulation. Then of course, operating model. Is this a CAPEX model, OPEX model? Is this an on-prem data center or a cloud data center, right? Privacy, sovereignty, data is important. You look around the world. In fact, around the same time 20 years ago, Japan wanted to push for e-government as well, but it did not kick off. Why? The Japanese were on the street protesting. They feel that having e-government services will infringe their privacy. To me, privacy is forever important, but we need to have a balance between privacy and services. If you want better services, you need to let go some privacy. If you want the government to know more about your requirements and to satisfy you, you need to share some of the information. So you need to have a balance, privacy and sovereignty. Then you have data strategy. Last but not least, technology, right? So after having speak for 20 minutes, I come to the technology. So basically, Huawei as a global ICT company, we have 190,000 people in 170 countries. So I'm just one of the small person in 190,000 organizations. I'm from headquarters, I live in Singapore, but I'm from Huawei headquarters to look after public sector business. So in terms of technology, we call it the intelligent twins. Intelligent twins. At the bottom, we have all the devices, the operating system, A show of hands, how many of you are using Huawei phone? Wow, we need to work harder. Okay, sorry for that. Yeah. So basically, Huawei phone, we even launched a new operating system, Harmony OS. You probably heard of that. So we would love to use Google, but you know some bully in US don't want us to use them. So we created our own Harmony OS. But Harmony OS is more than a phone operating system. It's a phone operating system for sensors for devices. So many of our devices are using the same OS. In fact, we have partners selling microwave, we have partners selling refrigerators. They are running Huawei Harmony OS to allow harmonization. Digital transformation is important because you need different devices, different input-output devices. And then the next level, you have the connectivity. Of course, Huawei is strong in 5G. We are working very hard for 5G in Nigeria, but we are yet to go there. But besides the 5G, 4G, you have the Wi-Fi, the microwave, and so on. So you have different technology. The next layer, very crucial, is the intelligent hub. This is where the cloud takes place, and it comes with a lot of AI tools, a lot of development tools for you to develop services. Just like 20 years ago, the project that I did in Singapore, we built a middleware where there's a development services, and you can develop buying apartment, for example, as a service. Today, you don't need to build all these things. Huawei has it in our intelligent hub. On top, of course, you have the different services and applications and so on and so forth. So I believe what we have for Intelligent Hub is a good platform, it's a good stack of technology that can support your e-government. But as I said, technology is only a small part of any transformation. For you to do true e-government, I think you need to do that. And the theme of this year's summit is opportunities and challenges. I've already shared with you the possibility, the opportunities, and the vision. You will have your challenges such as connectivity, leadership, and so on. But guess what? Projects like such scale is not technology. It's always people. You need people to serve people. So I'm sure in this room, you guys are the change agents. You guys are the change agents. You must be willing to drive the change, because today we have sufficient data and sufficient layers of technology that can support you. So with that, I thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This is my contact information, but I will still be back. I need to rush off to see the governor actually, but I'll be back for a panel discussion later. Thank you so much.